Hi, I'm Reverend Paula Skiles with Unity Church of San Marcos. My message is one that is inspired by my dear friend Reverend Robin Volker. And so she was sharing some of these ideas and we were talking, and I'd like to share these thoughts as well. Throughout history, there have been people who we have termed mystics. And for me, I have found that I consider these people who are grounded in the essence of God. And there are so few notable ones that it seems like, I believe, we have drawn the conclusion as a race of people, the human race, that it's not something that's meant for the average person. But I would share that that is contradictory to what truth would tell us. Actually, you and I and other people we know, the average person is organically mystic. And that is the title of this message. It's the second of 3 in a series of messages for the soul. Organically mystic is about you and I learning how to develop a portion of our being that we call our spiritual nature, as well as, in the process, developing an ability to become one with God. Now, that was something that Jesus said to us. Follow thou me in the regeneration. Let yourself know and experience, just like Jesus, what it means to be one with God. Organically mystic. Where do we begin? Well, perhaps in the beginning. You and I were created in the image and likeness of God. And what does that mean for us? To me, it simply means that we have a spiritual nature like God. We're capable of dreaming and imagining. We're capable of loving. We're capable of expressing peace and joy and beauty in our lives. And all of those are spiritual qualities. And that is the essence of being in the image and likeness of God, as you and I are connected to and able to express those things. So we have a spiritual nature. Sometimes we are more attuned to it, but you and I, we are attuned to God naturally, organically. Organically, what does it mean? It means from or in connection with living matter. And mystic means a person who seeks oneness with a power greater than themselves, an apprehension of truths. And organically mystic is someone who incorporates within their being, the essence, oneness of God. You and I can do that. We can. Now, to me, what mystics simply do is mature their mind, body, and soul, and allow themselves to express their spiritual nature more fully. It sounds, I know, like a lot of effort, and you would be correct. So why should you and I till the soil and cultivate this relationship of you and I with God on a deeper level and creating more understanding? After all, life is tough enough as it is, right? And there you have your answer. It is the benefits of allowing ourselves, the organically mystic part of us, to express that help us to have a greater ability to make choices rather than simply reacting in life through our intuition, or being able to have a sense of more control over our life because we have a sense of wisdom that comes through, and a sense of being able to know what to do, when to do it. Or We have the benefit of experiencing love and greater peace and peace of mind and joy. Now, those are pretty good reasons in my heart for making some effort, and yes, commitment of my own time and energy to trying to connect with Spirit and allowing my own spiritual nature to develop. One of the things I've seen in my life is the ability to let go of the fear of death. Now that can be a pretty large benefit for some of us because we feel so driven away from everything, aging and the process of just growing up and maturing. We allow ourselves to come to that place, and just those connections, we see that greater experience or existence and recognize it as something that is worthy or goal-oriented, in the sense that when it is our time, there is a releasing, a natural sense of our own abilities to continue on. Can you believe in a power greater than ourselves? People who are part of a 12-step program would call that we have to place our faith and our trust in a higher power. So whether you call something greater than ourselves a higher power, God, Spirit, Elohim, Adonai, whatever you call that greater energy of life, expression, doesn't matter. Well, you and I can be religious and follow a path into spirituality. We can say we are not religious, but spiritual, and experience that spirituality. And you can even eschew all religion and say that nothing exists. And you too can find some spirituality, though it may be a little more hard. Regardless of which path we use, our mind, body, and soul are organically mystic, attuned to Spirit. What does it mean to be a mystic? For me, it's been an enriching and expansive lifestyle. And the reality is, when we focus our attention and our ability to make choices and decisions and things, when we focus them through a spiritual lens, rather than looking to the outer first and trying to solve everything through the material world, there is a difference in the quality of our lives. I know many individuals who do follow religious traditions. And what I would say, that whether you're a person who's spiritual but not religious, being spiritual isn't about having crystals or reading mantras or yoga or tarot or repeating affirmations or quoting the Bible. Those are all catalysts. They are not what spirituality is. Spirituality is the ability that you and I have to recognize the presence of God, to see it within the face of another human being in all creation. So spirituality is that sense of the divine life expressing as you can do it, as you and I can do it. Whether it's through being willing to forgive or to love fully or to express joyfully, whatever it is, that is that divine life that we can see and recognize. And I have found that by being a part of an organized religion or such, like a church, we find it easier to experience and to have our connection to our organically mystic aspect of ourselves. And I would like to share some thoughts about why that is important, even if it's just done online as we do right now. I've found that when we share how we're growing or what's happening in our lives, or when we express our own wisdom or our own understandings, we help others to recognize, one, they're not alone, and two, to connect to a sense of movement that's going forward for themselves as well. And when we're in a church environment, in a general sense, this is meant to help you and I, because we're able to practice what it is to be spiritually mystic, where we allow those qualities of God to express that oneness, that nature of God. And what it happens is you and I are able to open our minds more easily to a knowing of truth. Now, this is different than knowledge of truth, simply because a knowing of truth is not something that has been taught to us, which would be basically the knowledge of truth. Someone has basically said, this is the truth, and we have incorporated that as truth. But when you and I take the time to follow being a mystic, to connect to spirit, and to sit within the presence, what we experience is a knowing that comes, that goes to the cells of our being, to our very bones. And so I've found, quite honestly, that churches are where the rubber hits the road. It's where you and I get to practice how it and what it means to express the Spirit of God, to be the hands, the heart, the eyes, the willingness of pressing forward in how you can do it or I can do it as the qualities of God. And the other thing with going to the church does is it helps you and I to have a sense of interconnectedness, that we don't look out and see enemies automatically or that we're separate. And that's one of the problems that you and I have as human beings, is that sense of separation. So as a mystic, it's easier for us to look for commonalities. Do you or your family have differing ideas about religions? It'd be so easy to just use that as an excuse to walk away from them, or to not let them be a part of your life, or to not just deal with it. And yet, I would think that a lot of mystics probably instead would try to find, okay, what can we agree on? What is the common ground we have? Rather than getting caught up in details. The big thing I know about being, and what I have learned of mystics, is that these are individuals who go directly to headquarters. They don't take someone else's word for a truth or a statement. Charles Fillmore, who's one of our founding members in Unity, said this: I will go to headquarters. If I am spirit and this God they talk so much about is spirit, we can somehow communicate, or the whole thing is a fraud. And what I know is that mystics look within themselves for the answers. We don't need to take someone else's word for something, and I would encourage you, don't take my word. You might follow some of my suggestions about how to do this, and you'll find it easier, but I invite you to look for your own authority, your own experience of the infinite. Because recognizing it for yourself and experiencing it for yourself is the only way you will know the truth. And to become more fully present as a spiritual being. How do we do that? Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is turn off all of our electronic devices. Yes, I'm saying that. But this is a biggie. So many of us, in order to do a spiritual practice, have to let go of all the minutiae of stuff, multitasking, Go walk in the woods, plant some new life in the soil, or sit by a stream. Look at the stars at night. When you have a meal, sit down and actually eat that meal with someone or by yourself and just concentrate or experience that fully. If you're talking with a friend or a family member, listen to them before you have to respond. Really be present. One of the things I am encouraging you to do is to ask the right kinds of questions, like, why am I here? Who am I? What is happiness? What is joy? Because in asking these things, and if as you know, we all go through that stage. If you were a parent, you had a child who went through the whys, okay. That curiosity to understand, that energy of curiosity is a part of humanity. Use it to connect and to find your own answers. The overarching activity of spirit within our minds will bring an awareness of God as absolute good. And you and I will have a different reality just as a result of doing that. How is it that we are capable of connecting? Well, that goes back to the idea that there is that which is within you and I, what we call the Christ. And it is that which is the Son, if you will, the child, the offshoot, the heir to what God is. And another name for it is oversoul, or a consciousness of God that you and I can connect to. And it's only through being able to do that, it's part of all humanity, that we're able to experience things like intuition, or having our logic and our intellect come together as wisdom and understanding. If you and I were to spend half an hour a day in meditation, Charles Fillmore said it this way: a daily half hour of meditation will open up the mind to a consciousness of the inner one and reveal many things that are hidden from natural man. Now, the one is what I was speaking of earlier, that consciousness of God, the Christ that you and I connect to, the kingdom of God within. A natural man is a person who sees only the physical nuts and bolts, and they're not interested in a spiritual connection or spiritual reality. And the only reason that it's hidden is because they refuse to seek. They don't need to question, who am I, or why am I here, or any of the things that would spark that inflow of wisdom. On our path, and each of us are on one, regardless if we acknowledge it, it's not absolutely necessary that you be skilled as a mystic in order for your meditation or your spiritual practices, like walking in the woods or sitting by a stream and being still and reflective, or reading about other mystics, or whatever it is that helps you to live in principles. You can create an environment that allows you to develop that spiritual nature. Paul, the apostle, said, "It is over all, through all, and in all." I found that as I pay attention to the thoughts that come into my mind that allow me to achieve a sense of control of my life, like grab your umbrella, or check the doors, or the oven, or whatever it is that might need a second thought or a second look. Change lanes now. take this road or this exit. I've experienced so many of those, and you probably have too. And we've avoided either major traffic problems, or we've found some new or wonderful little restaurant that we wanted to go to, or whatever. Or the thought, I need to call so-and-so. And about that time, they either call you, or when you call them, they're like, I was just needing to speak with you. Coincidence? No. Are they on the same intuitive thought wave? I believe so. So develop a spiritual practice that works for you. And I want to encourage you to recognize the organically mystic aspect of yourself. As you do, you will be able to embrace the mystery of God. And that mystery doesn't mean that it's unknowable. It's simply one we have to seek out. Whether if you like puzzles, or if you like to read imaginative novels, or if you have a sense of looking at murder mysteries or any kind of mystery and liking to solve them, you're already expressing traits that will help you in connecting. And so developing that spiritual practice will already be easier. As you explore the inner world of spirit, I invite you to let that wonder, let that greater peace of mind and joy that you will experience, let that be a part of your existence to such a degree that it's worth the time you set aside, and let your own being bubble up. God bless you. Have a great day.